If you've never watched a man pack for a 2-night business trip like he's auditioning for The Bachelor Corporate Edition, congratulations on your peaceful life. My common-law husband, Drew, packed with that smug little efficiency men get when they think they're good. 2 crisp button-downs, 1 blazer, travel-size cologne, laptop, chargers. He even did that thing where he rolled his belts like he was storing fine leather in a museum, not shoving them into a carry-on that smelled faintly of old airports and poor decisions. We've been together 9 years. No wedding, no rings, no officiant. Just a mortgage, a dog with separation anxiety, and a shared Costco membership, which, honestly, is more binding than vows these days. In our state, common law isn't even technically a thing, but try telling that to the woman who's been splitting utilities with you since Obama's second term. Drew worked in sales. I worked in operations.
Translation, he talked pretty for a living, and I made sure the pretty talk didn't turn into lawsuits. It was a balanced ecosystem. He was charm, I was consequence. This trip was to Phoenix, some client summit with lanyards, bad coffee, and hotel carpeting that looks like it was designed by someone who hates joy. Drew acted like it was nothing. A quick flight, a few meetings, maybe a steak dinner on the company card. He kissed my forehead like a man who still wanted credit for intimacy, but didn't want follow-up questions. And I didn't ask any. Not because I was scared, because I've learned that immediate reactions are for people who don't think 3 steps ahead. I don't do screaming matches. I do spreadsheets. I do patterns. I do math. So I smiled, handed him his toiletry bag, and reminded him, sweetly, that the dog's medication was on the counter with instructions, like I was sending a capable adult off to war instead of a Marriott. He laughed. "You're the best, babe." Babe. The word men use when they want warmth without responsibility. At the airport drop-off, he hugged me a little longer than usual. He smelled like cologne and confidence. Then he walked into security without looking back, like he didn't want to risk seeing the life he was leaving behind. I drove home in that calm, quiet way you do when nothing is technically wrong, but your body is already bracing for impact. That night, while I was tossing a ball for our dog and pretending the silence didn't feel personal, my phone buzzed. A notification from Drew's airline app. Trip updated. Additional passenger details received. And I just stood there, staring at it, realizing 2 things at once. Drew didn't book that flight through his company portal. Someone else had just been added to his itinerary. I didn't cry. I didn't call him. I didn't even text. I opened my notes app and wrote 1 line. Don't confront. Confirm. I'm not proud of how fast I went cold. Not icy mad, not sobbing mess, just operational. Like my heart clocked out and my brain clocked in with a little badge that said, "Hi, I'm Consequence." That airline notification kept glowing on my lock screen, like a tiny neon sign that read, "Something changed." So I did what I always do when a system starts behaving strangely. I audited it. Drew and I shared enough digital overlap to qualify as a small corporation. 1 streaming account, 2 joint credit cards, a family cloud storage plan, and a calendar he never updated unless it benefited him. We weren't married, but we were absolutely entangled, like earbuds in a purse, like a sweater in a zipper. I poured myself a glass of wine I didn't even want, and opened my laptop like I was about to ruin someone's quarterly forecast. First, credit card activity. The hotel deposit had posted earlier that day, normal. Then a second pre-auth from the same hotel, same amount, 30 minutes later. Maybe a glitch, I told myself, because I'm generous, right up until the moment I'm not. Then I checked his emailed itinerary. I didn't have to hack anything. Drew's biggest weakness has always been laziness disguised as trust. He'd used the same password on everything since 2016.
Like cybersecurity is a myth invented by nerds to sell two-factor authentication. I searched Phoenix and reservation. One email popped up from a travel site he never used. Not the company portal. A personal booking. The subject line made my stomach tighten in a way I'd only felt once before, when we realized the dog ate an entire bag of dark chocolate. "Your stay is confirmed," I clicked. My eyes scanned automatically. Dates, hotel name, room type, and there it was. 2 guests. Not one adult, not single occupancy, not business rate, just 2 guests, casually typed like it was nothing. Like it wasn't a knife slipped between ribs. I didn't move for a full minute. I didn't even blink. My brain tried to throw up excuses like confetti. Maybe he clicked the wrong option. Maybe the hotel requires it. Maybe it's just standard. Sure. And maybe I'm the next Marvel superhero. I opened our shared location history next, because yes, I'm that woman, and no, I'm not apologizing. But Drew's location was off. Convenient. Like locking the bathroom door after you've already flooded the kitchen. I sat back and stared at my ceiling. The dog hopped onto the couch and pressed her warm body against my thigh like she could physically anchor me to reality. 9 years. 9. I'd built a life on a man who apparently needed additional passenger details. I could have called him. I could have texted something sharp and final like, "Hope she enjoys my side of the bed." But I've always believed confrontation is a gift. It gives the guilty a warning. It gives liars time to workshop a story. No. If Drew was messing up our life, I wanted him unprepared when the bill came due. So I made a new note in my notes app, right under, "Don't confront, confirm." Step 1, identify her. And right then, like the universe wanted to keep things cinematic, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't the airline app. It was a photo notification from our shared cloud album. A new image had been uploaded, by Drew, from Phoenix. And the thumbnail showed 2 drinks on a table. 2. With a manicured hand in the corner of the frame, resting casually beside his. The photo loaded in that annoyingly cheerful way phones do, like it was offering me a fun memory instead of evidence. 2 cocktails on a hotel bar table. Drew's knuckles, his stupid watch, and that hand. Her hand. It wasn't even trying to hide. Long nails, almond-shaped, pale pink polish with a tiny gold accent line, like she'd paid extra to be memorable. No wedding ring, a delicate bracelet, the kind of wrist that says, "I take Pilates seriously, and men take me lightly." I zoomed in until the pixels got chunky, like my phone was begging me to stop hurting my own feelings. My first instinct was to text him. Who is she? My second instinct, stronger, louder, was to protect future me from the regret of giving him an early warning system. So, I did what I do best. I collected data. I saved the photo to my laptop and checked the details. Timestamp, 9:42 p.m. Location, the hotel. Not a restaurant across town, not a group dinner, not networking. The hotel bar. The place you go when you want convenience and plausible deniability. Then I opened the shared album again. Drew had posted 3 more photos over the last hour. None of them featuring faces, all of them featuring vibes. A conference badge, a steak, a view from the balcony. Men will document everything except their guilt. They think if they keep the camera pointed away from the crime, it doesn't count. I checked his social media next, because cheaters are nothing if not predictable. Drew had liked 2 recent posts from the company he was meeting, plus 1 selfie from a woman I didn't recognize. Bright smile, glossy hair, and a caption that made my stomach drop in slow motion. Phoenix Nights, work hard, play harder. She'd tagged the hotel. I clicked her profile and immediately felt that familiar, humiliating heat crawl up my neck. She wasn't some anonymous stranger. She was someone who wanted to be found.
Public account, lots of selfies, lots of comments. And there, nestled among the usual heart eyes and gorge, was a recent like from Drew's account. Of course. Her name was Marin, and she was the exact kind of woman Drew would call fun, in that dismissive tone that really means she doesn't ask me to grow up. I scrolled like it was my job. Her stories showed the conference floor, the same lanyard color Drew's company used. She panned past a crowd, too fast to catch faces, but enough to confirm she was at the same event. Still, my brain clung to the last thin shred of denial, like it was a life raft. Maybe they were just flirty. Maybe it was harmless. Maybe she was just networking and he was just being Drew. Then her next story loaded. A quick boomerang of 2 glasses clinking. Same table, same bar, same pale pink nails. And a man's laugh in the background. Warm, familiar, and so obviously Drew's that it felt like he'd leaned through the phone to whisper directly into my ear. I didn't cry. I opened my notes app again and added, her name, Marin, hotel bar, 9:42 p.m. Don't react, record. Because here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't usually arrive with a dramatic confession. It arrives in tiny, arrogant breadcrumbs a man leaves behind because he believes you're too trusting or too tired to follow them. I followed them. And right before I went to bed, my phone lit up with a new notification. A message request. From Marin. Just one line. Hey, do you know Drew? I stared at Marin's message request like it was a live grenade someone had gently placed in my lap. Hey, do you know Drew? The ellipsis did a lot of work there. The fake softness, the I'm just a girl vibe. Like she hadn't been clinking glasses with my man an hour ago. I didn't answer right away. I didn't even open it. Because opening it would show seen. And seen is basically a confession of emotion. I wasn't giving either of them that. Instead, I took a screenshot. Then another screenshot, full screen, with her profile name visible, the timestamp, the whole thing. I saved it to a folder on my desktop called Receipts, because sometimes you need a place to put your rage where it won't spill onto your tongue. I sat very still for a second, listening to the refrigerator hum and the dog breathing in her sleep like the world hadn't just tilted. Then I started thinking like me. Why would she message me? Either she'd found me on Drew's profile, photos of us, holidays, the dog, the life he'd apparently been renting out while shopping for upgrades, or she'd Googled him and stumbled across traces of me that he'd forgotten to erase. Which meant one thing. Drew hadn't told her the truth. Shocking. Men will lie to 2 women at once and still somehow act like they're avoiding drama. I finally opened the request, careful and measured, like I was disarming something. Her message sat there with that innocent little question. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard. What I wanted to type was, yes, he lives with me. I hope you like my couch because that's where he'll be sleeping forever. What I typed instead was, I do. Why? Short, neutral, no punctuation that could be read as emotional. No, hey girl, camaraderie. No clause yet. She replied almost instantly. Of course she did. She was probably still awake in that hotel room, adrenaline buzzing, makeup wiped off, realizing something didn't add up. I'm sorry if this is weird. I met him here in Phoenix. He said he was single. But I saw a photo of you on his lock screen when he put his phone down at the bar. There it was, the betrayal, fully illuminated. Not a suspicion, not a vibe, not maybe. A direct statement from the other woman confirming what my body already knew. My throat tightened, not because I was about to cry, but because my brain was reorganizing my entire life in real time, like someone sweeping chess pieces off a board. I answered, still calm, it's not weird. We've been together 9 years. We live together.
I watched the little typing bubble appear and disappear, like she was trying to decide how guilty she wanted to sound. Finally, oh my God, I swear I didn't know. He told me he travels a lot and doesn't do relationships. I'm so sorry. I read that message 3 times. Because the thing about women like Marin is that they always apologize after the fun part. When the consequences show up. When the story stops being sexy and starts being real. Still, her apology wasn't the point. The point was this. Drew had built an entire parallel narrative in another woman's head. And he'd done it with the ease of someone who'd practiced. I set my phone down and inhaled slowly, like I was stepping into a cold pool. This was the moment I officially knew. Part of me wanted to drive to the airport, intercept him, scream in public just to make him feel small under fluorescent lighting. But I'm not a spectacle. I'm a strategist. So I opened my notes app and wrote the first real line of my revenge plan. He thinks he's in control. Correct that. Then I wrote the second. Phoenix is just the beginning. And before I went to bed, I sent Marin one last message. Soft as silk, sharp as a razor hidden underneath. Thank you for telling me. I won't confront him yet. If he texts you, I'd like to know. Her reply came a minute later. Okay, I will. I turned off my phone, rolled onto my side, and stared into the dark. Drew would come home in 2 days thinking he'd gotten away with something. He had no idea he'd just handed me a blueprint. And I don't waste blueprints. The next morning, I didn't wake up heartbroken. I woke up like a woman who just found a leak in her house and decided to shut off the water before it rots the foundation. Drew was still in Phoenix, still busy. Still pretending his life wasn't a Jenga tower he'd been yanking blocks out of with greasy confidence. I made coffee, fed the dog, answered 2 work emails, smiled at a neighbor like I wasn't quietly relabeling my entire future. Then I started taking inventory. Not of memories, not of feelings. Of assets, entanglements, leverage. First, money. We had a joint card for groceries and emergencies, which, funny enough, had started seeing a lot more emergencies every time Drew traveled. I logged in, legally, it's my account too, and lowered the spending limit to something that would cover gas and dog food, but not hotel champagne and impulsive lingerie purchases. I didn't cancel it. Not yet. When a man realizes the money is gone, he starts adjusting his lies. I needed his lies untouched. Pure, unfiltered, documentary grade. Second, paperwork. I pulled our mortgage docs, utility logins, insurance policies. I took photos of everything and saved them in that same receipts folder. Not because I was planning to take him for everything, because I was planning to make sure he couldn't take me for a fool. Third, the story. Cheaters don't just cheat, they curate. They build little museums of denial with exhibits like, "You're overreacting," and "It was just flirting," and the classic, "I was going to tell you." So I mapped out Drew's likely script the way I'd map out a risk assessment at work. Minimize. It was nothing. Deflect. We've been distant. Victim. I've been stressed. Attack. Why were you snooping? Promise. It'll never happen again. And because I like to be thorough, I added a final note. He will cry when he realizes it's not working. I messaged Marin once, carefully. No bonding, no girl power slumber party, just business. Me. If he contacts you, screenshot it. Don't warn him. Marin. Okay. Her response came with the energy of someone who realized she'd stepped into a bigger story than the one she thought she was starring in. Meanwhile, Drew texted me around noon. Miss you. Meetings are brutal. Can't wait to be home. I stared at the screen, letting my anger settle into something colder and cleaner. Then I replied, "Miss you too. Travel safe." Because here's the thing. You don't tip your hand when the other player still thinks they're winning.
That evening, I made a list titled Revenge. Not the dramatic kind, the adult kind. The kind where you don't destroy his life, you simply remove yourself from the version of it he's been freeloading in. At the top, I wrote, Proof, Protection, Presentation. Because I wasn't going to explode, I was going to reveal. And when Drew walked back through that front door, smiling like a man who thinks he's untouchable, I wanted every single piece already in place, like a stage set that only falls apart once the spotlight hits. Then, right before bed, Maren sent me a screenshot, a text from Drew. Had fun last night, same time tomorrow? And my calm sharpened into something lethal. Because now I didn't just have a suspicion, I had a timeline. If you've ever watched a man cheat in real time, it's almost insulting how unoriginal it is. Because Drew didn't just text Maren. He texted her like a man who thinks he's starring in a rom-com where consequences are optional. Had fun last night. Same time tomorrow? I stared at that screenshot and felt something click into place. Not heartbreak. Clarity. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't one bad night. This was a pattern in motion, confident enough to schedule itself. So I built a script. Not for him, for me. I opened my notes app again and wrote a header. Drew Return Protocol. Because when you're about to dismantle someone's illusion, you don't improvise. You choreograph. Step 1. Keep him comfortable. A cheating man is most honest when he thinks he's safe. If I came in hot, accusations, tears, rage, he'd flip into damage control mode. I didn't want damage control. I wanted raw truth. So I did the opposite of what my instincts begged for. I made the house feel like home. I washed the sheets. I stocked the fridge with his favorite overpriced yogurt. I even set his stupid travel mug by the coffee maker like a little shrine to routine. Not because I wanted him. Because I wanted him relaxed. Step 2. Widen the net. I asked myself what Drew cared about more than me. Answer? His image. Drew's entire personality was a LinkedIn post with teeth. Hard worker, good guy, family man, without the family. He lived for being liked, for being seen as the charming, harmless, lovable idiot. So I started collecting the points where his image could be pinned to reality. I pulled his company's travel policy from the employee portal. Again, not hacking, not illegal, just using the access we both had floating around in our shared life. I read it like scripture. Expense fraud clauses, conduct expectations, representing the company. The kind of boring corporate language that becomes incredibly exciting when someone uses a company card to fund adultery. Step 3. Keep Maren close, but not close. I messaged her once more. Me. Do you know if he used a company card? Maren. I think so. He kept saying, don't worry, work's paying. Work's paying. The words sat in my brain like a lit match. I didn't respond with anger. I responded with a heart emoji. Because I wanted her calm too. Cooperative. Not defensive. Step 4. Plant the mirror. Drew couldn't come home to a fight. He had to come home to himself. So I planned it. The night he returned, I'd ask gentle questions. Normal questions. The kind that sound like love, but function like a lie detector. How was the summit? Who did you sit with? Did you meet anyone interesting? How was the hotel? And every answer he gave, I would compare to the receipts I already had. Not to catch him, to let him build the gallows with his own mouth. That night, while Drew was probably picking a time and place to cheat again, I did one more thing. I booked myself a consultation with a lawyer. Not a dramatic take him to court move, just information, options,
boundaries, a map of the exits. Because revenge isn't always a fire. Sometimes it's an evacuation plan executed with a smile. At 11:17 p.m., Marin sent another screenshot. Drew again.
Can't wait to see you tomorrow. You're trouble. I looked around our quiet living room, the dog asleep, the throw blanket he always stole, the framed photo of us at the beach where he'd held me like I was everything. Then I typed one sentence into my notes app. He thinks he's juggling two women. And underneath it, I added, he's actually juggling two versions of me. The old me, the one who built a life with him, and the new me, the one who was about to remove herself like a surgeon cutting out a tumor. Clean, precise, unapologetic. And Drew's plane landed the next afternoon. Drew came through the front door like a man returning from war, not a Marriott with a lobby scented like citrus lies. "Babe," he said, dropping his suitcase with a thud that made the dog bolt upright. He scooped her up, kissed her head, then kissed me, quick, practiced, like checking a box. I smiled, warm, normal. The kind of normal that makes guilty people relax. "How is Phoenix?" I asked, taking his coat like I hadn't been screenshotting his betrayal like it was my second job. "Exhausting," he sighed. "Just meetings, dinners, networking, you know." I nodded like I believed him. I let him talk. Cheaters love to talk when you don't interrupt. They fill silence with fiction because silence feels like a trap. He wandered into the kitchen and did a little happy noise when he saw his stupid yogurt in the fridge. "You're the best," he said again. There it was, that word, the one he used like a tip. I poured him water and asked softly, "Did you end up staying at the same hotel as the conference?" "Yeah," he said instantly, too instantly. Made it easier. "Smart," I said. "Was it nice?" "It was fine, nothing special." I pictured Marin's nails tapping his glass. Nothing special. I watched him unpack like I was watching a documentary about a species that thinks it's invisible. He pulled out his charger, his laptop, a branded pen from the summit. Then, casually, he placed his phone on the counter. Lock screen down, like he'd learned. I kept my face smooth. "Did your company cover everything okay?" He shrugged. "Mostly. I put a couple things on my own card. It's whatever." Ah, the preemptive cover story. I leaned against the counter, sweet as iced tea. "Actually, can you forward me your travel receipt email when you get a second? I'm doing our end-of-year budget spreadsheet and I'm missing some totals." Drew didn't flinch, but his eyes did that tiny jump, the one that tells me a man just pictured a door slamming. Yeah," he said, too cheerful. "Sure." "Thank you," I said, and kissed his cheek like a reward. That night, he showered and climbed into bed beside me like he deserved the warmth of a body he'd been betraying. He fell asleep fast, because lying is exhausting when you're not built for consequences. My phone buzzed at 1:03 a.m. Marin, a screenshot. Drew again. "Back home. Already miss you." I stared at the message until the letters stopped being letters and started being fuel. Then I opened my notes app and added one more line under Drew return protocol. "Tomorrow, get the receipts. Next, set the stage." I rolled over, facing him in the dark, listening to his easy breathing. He thought he'd come home. He had no idea he'd walked into the part of the story where I stop collecting evidence and start collecting payment. The next morning, Drew acted like a man with nothing to hide. Whistling, coffee, big week ahead. The whole performance. After breakfast, I kept my voice light. "Hey, can you forward me those travel receipts? I want the spreadsheet clean before the holidays." He didn't say no. He couldn't. Saying no would make the lie visible. 10 minutes later, my inbox dinged. A forwarded email chain with attachments. Hotel folio, itemized charges, a PDF receipt from the travel site he never used, and, my personal favorite, an expense report draft with little notes like client dinner and networking drinks. I opened the hotel folio first. Room, 1 king. Guests, 2. Bar tab, 9:42 p.m., the exact time of the 2 drinks photo. Room service for 2. Late checkout. A second keycard fee. Nothing screams single like paying for a second key. I didn't slam my laptop shut. I didn't march into the kitchen waving paper like a soap opera extra. I saved everything. Twice. Cloud and external drive. Then I did the unromantic part of revenge. I protected myself. I changed my direct deposit to my personal account, opened a new savings account he didn't know existed, moved my auto payments off the joint card, canceled every shared subscription that wasn't actually shared. Goodbye, his premium sports package. And I updated passwords, email, utilities, mortgage portal, because I wasn't about to let a guilty man rewrite my reality. That afternoon, Drew kissed my forehead and said, "Thanks for handling the boring stuff." He had no idea the boring stuff was me quietly removing his access to my life like deleting a contact. That night, I printed the receipts and slid them into a folder. On the tab, I wrote in black marker, Phoenix. Not because I needed a reminder, because tomorrow, I was going to ask him one simple question and let him bury himself answering it. How many people were in your room, Drew? I waited until after dinner, not as a courtesy, strategically. People lie worse when they're full and comfortable. Drew was on the couch, half watching a game, half scrolling his phone like nothing in his world was on fire. I sat across from him with my laptop and the folder on the coffee table. Calm posture, calm voice. The tone I use at work right before someone realizes the meeting is not going their way. Quick budget thing, I said. Your Phoenix receipts came through. Yeah? He didn't look up. Dangerous confidence. I opened the hotel folio and angled the screen toward him like I was showing him a funny meme. So, I said pleasantly, help me understand this. Why does it say 2 guests? His eyes flicked, just once. Then the mask slid back on. That's probably default, he said. Hotels do that. I nodded. Okay, then why is there a second keycard fee? He blinked, a slower blink, the kind that buys time. Maybe housekeeping and room service for 2? I kept going, still soft, still controlled. And the bar tab at 9:42 p.m.? He sat up straighter. Now we were in it. Why are you interrogating me? He snapped, like anger could erase math. I leaned back and folded my hands. I'm not interrogating you. I'm asking you a question you should be able to answer easily. Silence. I slid my phone across the table. One screenshot. Marin's message. He said he was single. Drew's face went gray in real time. You went through my... I didn't have to, I said, cutting him off, still calm. You brought the evidence home and handed it to me like a souvenir. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. I can explain. That's what liars say right before they try, I said. Here's what's happening instead. You're sleeping in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow, you're packing, and you're not taking my dog, my money, or my peace with you. He stared at me like he'd never seen me. He had. He just thought I'd never turn toward him. Drew tried every version of himself that night. Sad Drew. It didn't mean anything. Angry Drew. You're blowing this up. Wounded Drew. I've been stressed. Romantic Drew. I love you. I let him audition. I didn't clap. Because the moment a man cheats, he stops being your partner and starts being your risk. And I don't negotiate with risks. I mitigate them. The next morning, I handed him 2 things, the folder and a written list. You move out by Friday. We separate the bills immediately. All communication stays in writing. The dog stays with me. He laughed once, like disbelief could save him. You can't just... I can, I said. Watch me.
Then I did the cleanest part of my revenge. I told the truth to the people who mattered. Not in a messy Facebook post, not in a group chat grenade. I filed a formal report through his company's ethics/compliance channel about the expense report and the hotel charges. I attached only documents with his name on them. No insults, no emotion, just facts. If he used work to fund betrayal, work could deal with the bill. And Marin? She texted me, shaky and furious, saying Drew had messaged her again, still trying. I didn't tell her what to do. I just sent her one line. He lies professionally. Believe the receipts. By Friday, Drew was gone. Suitcase, boxes, ego, dragged out like trash someone finally admits stinks. That night, the house felt lighter. Not happy, not yet, but clear. And the revenge wasn't that he suffered. It was that I stayed composed, stayed smart, and walked away with my dignity intact, while he finally had to live inside the story he wrote. Turns out the harshest consequence for a man like Drew is simple. He doesn't get access to me anymore.